Welcome to Wholesale Hotline. I'm Brent Daniels.
I'm Jamil Damji.
And I'm Jerry Norton.
And I'm Pace Morby.
Every week we bring you the best information on real estate investing.
Be sure to participate in the comments.
And subscribe.
Wholesale Hotline!
Welcome to Wholesale Hotline number 273. We've got an action-packed show for you today. Jerry, how are you, brother?
Doing awesome.
Awesome.
Look at that group of fine-looking gentlemen.
We got Mark and Cody and Bo, and we are ready to answer your questions.
We're ready. Guy in wholesaling right here.
We're ready to talk about what's going on in the market. We're ready to talk about what's going on with inventory. We have been masterminding all day with the Joe Homebuyer franchise, and franchisors, I guess, all day.
Right. All day.
It's been a party. Which, Jerry, you own a franchise, several franchises. I own a franchise since 2020. Awesome. So welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Make sure that you are putting in the chat where you live, where you do business, so that you can treat this as a networking event. And also make sure that you are putting in your questions. All right. Jerry, how was your week last week, bud?
Awesome. Yeah. Doing fantastic.
Any deals going down? Are you doing flips? Are you doing wholesale? What are you doing?
Yeah, it's funny. I listed a $275,000 flip last week and an $8.5 million flip.
Where was the 8.5 at?
That's your Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico, bro.
That's the Puerto Rico, baby. We pre-listed it. We're not done yet, but we listed it already. So we got some really good renditions done. But it was just kind of...
When you originally built this, didn't you say it was going to be a spec home of like 7 something?
You know, I don't know where we're going to land, but we're listed at 8.5 now, and we'll see. I mean, we got a lot of room to move around. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's going to be a good deal.
And are you pretty pleased with the time frame? Because listen, let's. I know people call that place the United States, but it's still a third world country. Like, did you get it done in a time like where you're like, man, that was really quick, or do you feel like no, there were some setbacks?
I feel like we're sort of like breaking all the rules in Puerto Rico because we're building this house faster than I think has ever been done in history in Puerto Rico. But it's been a push. It's been a real like full on hands-on involvement. So
you're not building that as fast as here, like the luxury build you do in Arizona. I mean, we're talking significantly different, right?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the build is completely different because it's all reinforced concrete, no framing at all. There's not a single 2x4 in the entire house. Interior walls, exterior walls, it's all cement because of hurricanes and earthquakes. So, I mean, it's a bomb shelter, but the build process is just so much different. Like on a frame build, you got a lot of leeway, you know, like you can stand back and be like, that looks a little small. Let's make it 2 feet bigger. And you just knock down the 2x4s and move something over, change a wall, change something. This, you have to really pre-think everything you're doing. I mean, the cans in the ceiling, we pour into the floor when you pour the top floor. So there's no, I mean, you can move stuff, but you're jackhammering through rebar and concrete if you move something. and we've had to do that a few times, so it's not fun. But yeah, we're, I mean, it's been a lot more work than I think I thought, but at the same time, no, because nothing ever is what you think it's going to be when you're doing luxury. Everything takes longer, costs more, you know. But I already kind of knew that.
Do you know what's intriguing to me is watching you in Tennessee, like full on, like you're there, like you're full on farming. You wear this weighted vest. I'm always curious about what the weighted vest is, but you sent me a video the other day of holding what I believe is a possum. And is like your pet, and I'm sitting there thinking, are you supposed to touch these things? And you had it eaten out of your hand like bugs and petting it and everything. I was like, this guy, this is why I love Jerry Norton.
Yeah, we're really embracing the farm life. We've got ducks, geese, chickens, quail, pigs, goats, sheep. What else? I mean, we're kind of doing it all. So it's been fun. And a possum, a pet possum.
Awesome. So Cody and Mark, why are you guys in town? Why are you in my office? And what are you doing with all these incredible Joe Homebuyer franchises here? Because this is the top of the top. These are all the guys that are doing a lot of business. We can't disclose exactly how much because you're a franchise. So that's a whole thing in itself. But these guys close deals on a weekly basis. I guess I could maybe say that.
Yeah, sure.
So what are you guys here for?
Yeah, we're fortunate. And by the way, thank you for letting us have a party here.
Yeah.
Sincerely. But yeah, we brought in our top producing franchisees, and we're just masterminding. We're putting our minds together and getting the best of the best to just collaborate and work through, what's going on in the industry, what's going through on in our businesses. And I mean, you put a group of powerful individuals in a room where you're sharing ideas. It's quite rewarding.
Yeah. So what was the big topic, Mark?
Today was a lot of business development, because a lot of people, specifically guys like me, we get into the business, we pick up a franchise, a great franchise, and a lot of people have a hard time getting to that next level, developing to where they're doing multiple contracts a month and stuff like that. So today has really been focusing on that business management, how to try to get out of the operator into the owner status. So a lot of really high level masterminding.
What are you going to take home? What's the top?
Oh man, it's the perspective shift. Because like for me, I like that gritty kind of hustle, that work, and it's like I kind of get fulfillment out of that. And I feel like if I'm not doing it, that I'm being lazy. For me, I got to get out of that mindset. I got to realize that I need to replace myself and that I need to get compensated for what I'm producing, not for the activities that I'm doing.
And you're partnered with Jerry.
Yeah, Jerry and I. Yeah.
Awesome. What market?
Yeah, one. For now, we'll see, but one.
Go ahead, Jerry.
And Mark's keeping track. I mean, Mark's competitor, Cody, and Mark. He's watching the leaderboard and he's chasing it. Every time I talk to him, he's like, "Here's Mark. I'm at contract 36. I'm at contract 37. I'm tied for second." He's coming. He's coming, guys.
What's cool about it? Every year we, this. Your team qualifies for this. Every year we do. We host an event on Lake Powell on our houseboat. And so we'll get like top performing Joes. They'll go out there and Mark's like, he's running for it. He's like, I talked to him. How long ago? Was this like 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago?
About a month
ago.
Yeah.
And he is just telling me his update on what he's doing. Very impressive. But yeah, I love that you have your eyes on the board. You're like, I'm going to Powell this year.
I'm chasing it. I missed it last year, so I had to apologize to you guys. I'm not going to do it again.
Viewers got to check out Lake Powell. If you haven't, you got to. This is a quick search.
Yeah,
for
type in Lake Powell.
Yeah. We haven't gotten Brent there. Jerry's been there with his wife.
Anne Marie, she was there. She loved it.
Yeah, it's quite.
We don't have lakes like that.
Think of the Grand Canyon, right, with water, but these massive red rock walls, and you just pull up to a beach in a nice houseboat, and anyway, it's quite the venue.
Well, the only way to get there is to do deals, right? So how are people doing deals? You like that transition away from your favorite topic of all time, Lake Powell?
I can talk about it.
I know.
Back. So how you get deals is you dream big by thinking like, look at Lake Powell.
Yeah.
No, just kidding. Go for it, Mark. How do we get deals?
Was that the question?
What lead generation's working for you now? What do you like in 2025? What adjustments, what changes have you seen in 2025? Sure. Because this is a market that most people that are starting on this business have never seen. It is finally at the time where the media is getting loud that there are more buyers than sellers. I saw it all over Facebook this weekend. I saw it all over Instagram. Somebody's putting the charts. There's 500,000 more buyers than there are sellers. The market has shifted. Get ready for amazing real estate deals, world. I think it was either like the New York Times or somebody else that produced it. So
how we getting deals?
Yeah.
Well, remember, and I always go back to the basics. Marketing essentially is the right message to the right people at the right time, right? And I think for our franchisees, I'm a big fan of diversification, have multiple marketing channels producing leads, because what happens is in a market that has variability and ups and downs with interest, all the things that are going on in the market, if you're relying on one marketing channel, then what happens is that marketing channel isn't, you know, producing deals that week, that month. You're caught out in the ocean with your swimsuit off type thing. You get exposed. And so you have to have multiple marketing channels. And the core three for us in our world is direct mail, PPC, and cold calling, right? And then there's ancillaries that can support that. But those are the core three that we focus on.
Awesome.
We can get into the weeds on that, but.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm a one-man operation, so a lot of like the cold call leads, I've been talking to you guys about this. Like, I don't want to be swallowed up with a lot of low-quality leads. I'm exclusively PPC and SEO. And while I was sitting here at the mastermind, I signed contract 35, and 36 will probably be in like an hour or so. And that's all. I'll get JVs to kind of come in here and there. We've probably done 5 or 6 this year.
Yeah.
We're exclusively, we want that hot lead. We want it to come in. And even if they're not ready, we're really tight on follow-up. We stay right on top of them. Every Monday morning, I wake up and I fill out, you know, what do I think my next 3 deals are? And I know these are the ones. But when they come in, like 30 seconds, I'm triple dialing. We're going to get on top of them.
So what do you think of that, Jerry?
Well, and the Joe model's a little unique. I've adopted this like wholeheartedly, which is appointment. So even though these are PPC leads, like what Mark's talking about, we're not going for the one call close. We're going for the appointment. So Mark's, while he's on the phone, he's in the car. I'll be there in an hour is like the idea. and we're meeting at the kitchen table, and Mark's walking out of there with the contract. And they might have 5 other virtual wholesaler contracts laid out on the table of people they have not met. They've only talked to on the phone. And Mark's walking out of there with the contract, and he's not compromising on price. He's just able to build that connection so much better in person. So, you know, for years and years, I was just straight virtual. Like I didn't see a single house forever. And it's not like that doesn't work. That works. But if you want to have a competitive advantage in the marketplace, go on appointment and you'll see a game changer happen in your business.
Jerry, you bring up a good point. Is it still works, right? But would you also agree that it kind of just puts a ceiling or a cap on just how big it can go? It's hard to really scale virtual, where I feel like on appointment, face-to-face, it's not just that you have an advantage on the competition. I also believe that's the bigger deals. That's where you actually get deeper discounted properties under contract.
Well, I think you got to think about a couple things. You know, when you say virtual, you can be nationwide virtual, you can be one market virtual, or you can be some or many markets virtual. And what I like about a specific market, like a geographical metro market, is you're building a business now because you have a long-term plan. You want a presence in that market. You want to be known by everybody. You want the entire community to know who you are. And you want to really start building a lot of referral business, which is great. When you start getting a lot of referral business because everybody knows who you are and they start calling you, that's where things start to change. That's where your marketing budgets go way down. Your cost per acquisition goes way down, you know, because it's like you're laying the foundation for this amazing business. When you're nationwide virtual and you're just like randomly finding a lead, whether it's PPL, PPC, whatever, then that's a turn off thing. Like you don't have any presence. You didn't build an asset that is creating value long term. It can make money for sure, but I'm more interested in building a business and in wholesale real estate. That means build a presence in a specific market.
I'm hearing you talk about brand, Jerry, and that's, I mean, at the end of the day, if you can leverage your brand, you know, that's going to be critical, because ultimately you want to become the celebrity in your market, right? And that's what we encourage our Joe Homebuyer franchisees to do, is do enough deals that they're promoting among broker realtors, you know, obviously buyers, and where their brand starts to become recognized, and then it actually means something, right? If you can leverage a brand in your market, then your work gets easier because the word gets out. People are referring you. Agents are bringing you deals. I mean, the brand is an actual thing, but it takes concerted effort.
Well, at what point in your business do you start building brand? I mean, in the beginning, it's just survival. It's just doing deals, right? It's just getting the deals through the pipeline. You know what I mean? At what point do you cross the bridge over to, oh, I'm doing so well, I got to start building brand to get these referrals? Because that's really what brand does. brand gets you referrals from agents that are like, oh, I've seen these guys. I know these guys. I'm going to see if they want to buy my deals. And it's also, hey, come over to the house. You have, I looked at your Google reviews. You guys look good. So it lends more credibility. But in your first year, 2, 3, that's really difficult.
Sure.
Right?
My 2 cents, if you're paying for marketing, you might as well be branding because you're already paying for leads. So your business is, you're investing in this at that point in time. That's when I think it's important because you can really compound on what you're investing on. So if you're spending money for leads, you might as well get loud at the same time because you can really maximize on what you get, whether it's JV deals or, agents bringing you something they have off market, which I've done those this year too, just from Facebook posts,
I would agree with that. It's like thinking about it like this way. If you're virtual nationwide or you market hop, I call it market hopping, where you're just chasing a good market, but you're never really building a presence, then you're never building a brand. But if you start, it could be your very first deal. From deal 1 and forward, you're building the brand. Now it doesn't matter for a little while. I think Brent's totally right. It's going to take time before a brand presence starts to equal something to you. But look at Mark right now. I mean, he said 4 or 5 JV deals. That's a brand thing. That's a presence thing that got him those JV deals. He's not out there marketing for JV deals. He didn't go solicit those. They solicited him because he's starting to get known in the market. And so, but that's naturally happening. Why? Because he's in a local market and he's doing all the things to get recognized as, like what you said, Mark, a celebrity. He's doing the stuff to get known well in the market.
Well, Jerry, to Mark and Cody's credit too, it's like we show up, we've got official branding, we've got, hats. I send an email, it's from @joehomebuyer.com. If somebody else is sending them an email and it's from 918cashsellnow@gmail.com
Or
and
worse, at yahoo.com.
Yeah, MSN, whatever, and then they get mine and it's got an official signature with a website link. They go to the website. It's really like just small
Google
touches like
all
that.
across the country,
Yeah,
right?
small stuff like that makes a big difference. They look up somebody else and they look up mine. They can be like, one of them's a company, one of them's a guy in Indiana. It's not the same.
One thing if we want to go another step, we have one of our franchisees out here that on top of that, what he's done to help build his authority, his brand in his territory was instantly, right when he joined, he built a little RIA group and now owns the largest RIA group in Sacramento. And he's here if we want to bring him on to say how that even went. I mean, there's so many ways to build brand, but he could specifically talk on that too.
Oh, yeah.
Want to bring him on?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Bring him up.
Mitch, come on up, bro.
Let me ask you this while Mitch is getting, give it up for Mitch.
Mark, thank you for being here, bro.
Let me ask you this. How are you guys adjusting your offers as more inventories hitting the market? You know what I mean? What are you guys hearing from your cash buyers? What are you hearing? Is it harder to sell the deals right now? Is it no change? Are you having to negotiate 5%, 10%? What does that look like?
Maybe I want to hit something that I've been talking about. We've been talking about this since, when was the big shift on the rates? Was that 21 or 22? 22, the rate shift, right?
Last week of June, by the way.
Oh, so very specific.
That was the top of the market right there. That was the shift.
That was the shift.
Yeah,
That's when shift happened. So guys, here's what I want you to think about. I want you to think of what you liked it. Bro, you can't get a better joke than that. That came out so
it was
perfect. It was perfect.
Brent's getting used to it now.
Now, here's what I'll tell you. For 3 years now, we have been doing the same thing, and I still see so many people not jumping on board with the biggest shift that took place, and that was actually on the disposition side. So when you're asking how are you still able to move deals, it's because back during the bull run, the greatest bull run I've ever experienced, you've been in the game longer than I have, but the longest bull run me and Mark experienced, I mean, it was easy. It was you had a hot deal, you send out an email, and there was 20 people saying, I want your deal. Like that was just the standard. You send out one text and everyone's like, I want it. And a bidding war went on. It's just not the case. And it hasn't been the case since 22. It's now every bit as important to have someone with some sales skill set to be on the dispo side as you would have on the acquisition side. They've got to now pick up the phone like you've been training for years, TTP, cold calling, and you're calling to get buyers or to get sellers. It's the same thing now to get buyers. You have to pick up the phone and spend time calling all of your buyers and sell them on why they should go out and see this property that you just locked up. it's crucial that you do that. If not, you're not moving deals. Now they're calling us to say, hey, can we JV with you? We love it. We'll JV with people all day long, but it's because our process is not passive anymore. We are actively finding our buyers to get out there and get at least 20 people on every single inspection so that it produces that feeding frenzy like it was during the bull run of when I started in 15 all the way to 22.
Yes, it's never been more of a sales and marketing business, right? I mean, it's sales on both ends. It's on the acquisition side, your skill set, the way you develop yourself and the way you develop your team. If you have a team, absolutely critical. I said it a year and a half ago. I said, dispo is the new acquisitions. That's where it's going to separate the, proverbial men from the boys moving forward. And it really has been that in my market, Sacramento, California, and I've seen it across the board. People who refuse to sharpen their skills with their dispo process and move with the times and stay on top of new tools and technology to help them dispo deals, they lose a major edge.
Yeah.
What tools do you guys like for building your cash buyer database? Your investors.
I like a tool called Investor Base. That was interesting.
Yeah, Investor Base is great.
Yeah. Actually, Brent, I came and visited you here in the office about 5 months ago, I think. Me and my dispo, who's local here in
you got a lot of Sacramento
you
people
do,
in here. Yeah, they're blowing up here.
What do we got?
Yeah. You've got
Mitch. Oh my goodness. What do you represent?
Awesome.
Nina Stewart.
Oh, yeah. Nina Stewart. Sure. She's part of my RIA. She's a member there.
Oh,
Brian Nash.
Yeah.
In Sacramento. Mitch Beware.
Sacktown, Muhammad Ali. Okay, we got Muhammad Ali on
here. Shout out Sacktown. Let's go.
Let me ask you this. Are you guys using, so Investor Base gives you the name and contact information for the real buyers in the market. What about Investor Lift? We use it every time so that other people don't post our deals to Investor Lift. I don't know if you've dealt with this, right? But have you guys been messing with it at all?
We invested in it for 1 year, and it wasn't exactly what we were looking for at the time. Yeah. Maybe things have changed on that, so I can't give you an opinion on that.
Others get more success.
Put in the chat if you guys are using Investor Lift. I'd be really curious to see who's using it. Matt, Justice, let me know if you're using it. I don't know if you are. Jerry, are you using it across?
Yeah, we use Investor Lift, but I mean, the thing is you guys are exactly right. It used to be that, during the heyday where, I mean, you just wave a contract in the air and buyers all come running. So, I mean, we had it as just an hourly position. It was no sales thing at all. It was basically, order taking the highest paying buyer. So it wasn't even a commission-based position at all. We've since done exactly what you guys are talking about, where it's now the number one skill. If you had to choose between your top sales guy on ACK or Dispo, you put him on Dispo, because that's where the real work needs to be done now, is on Dispo. And so any of these tools like Investor Lift, it's not just like a post-it one and done thing and then all the buyers are going to come. We're outbounding all the buyers on any of the platforms we use. We're texting, calling, we're doing all the work to get in front of these buyers and having these conversations. So it is now truly sales on Dispo. And if you're not adapting to that, then you're leaving money on the table, or you're missing out on a lot of it.
Your cancellation rate goes up through the roof, right, Jerry?
Here's something I wanted to ask you guys today during one of the sessions. I saw that North Carolina, starting, Jerry, you know this better than anybody. North Carolina in, I think, either September or October, is all the new regulations are going in, and this has happened in a couple other states, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Jerry, I think it's Pennsylvania, but they have a 30-day window where the sellers can cancel if you're a wholesale buyer, right? If you first, you have to have a license in North Carolina coming up, and they have a 30-day right to just cancel the contract for whatever reason.
Specifically for a wholesaler, but if they're buying the home.
So here's my question to everybody here, and I'd be curious to know, even in the audience, if that happened in your state.
We even have a couple North Carolina people here.
Yeah, we do.
Perfect. All right, so we'll get you in. So if it happened in your state, how would you adjust? How would you adjust the way that you do Dispo? How would you adjust the way that you're doing offers? Yeah. Are you closing on deals? Are you only selling to a few select people that you really know and trust, aren't going to blast it out to the world? Because what happens is this is just going to open it up to you. If you blast it out normally, everybody that has no marketing budget and just getting started is just going to go, or has an established cash buyer database, is going to go to that seller and say, hey, listen, I can get you more money, cancel with them, go with me?
Well, the first thing is, and I'll be quick because I want to hear it from the rest of you. We need to hear from the North Carolina folks as well, but I'm going to put my name on it today. There's no way that 30-day clause is going to hold strong come October. There will be nuances of it, but you think about it, there's so many other ramifications from that 30 days. I just don't see that there's any way that that's a viable way, because it affects a neighbor buying a neighbor's property. There's so much subtleties of that is completely.
It's only wholesalers though. It's only if you're signing the deal.
Well.
Ooh, Jerry, let's jump in.
So first of all, it hasn't passed. It's passed.
It's not going to pass.
Right.
The House. It's crazy.
But not the Senate yet. So it's got to pass the Senate, which it's coming. And by the way, it passed the House unanimously. Not one person opposed it. But it is really poorly written, because what they've done is they've defined this is what all the laws do. First, they say this is the definition of wholesaling. Okay, so here it is. This is what we're defining wholesaling as. And now, if you're doing this, here's what you have to do. So Brent's right. You have to have a license, and there's a 30-day cancellation. But the worst part about that law, if it passes the way it's written now, and they don't make some amendments, is they're defining wholesaling as any and all transactions. And this could be your mom's house or anything. It doesn't even define what you're doing with it. If you're buying a property that's not your primary residence, that's wholesaling in North Carolina. That's how it's written right now. I've talked to a couple of attorneys about this, and everyone is freaked out because they need to adjust their definition in their law or in the bill about what the definition of wholesaling is. So this would apply to buy and hold. This would apply to fix and flippers. This would apply to, I'm going to buy my mom's house and keep it as a rental. Any purchase or sale you do that is not your primary residence is in their definition of wholesaling.
What are you going to do? I'll tell everybody your name and where you live and all that and how long you've been doing it.
I'm Bill Sanford. I'm Burlington, North Carolina.
Let's go.
Been doing it for 22 years, and our business model is not going to affect it that much because we're doing mostly retail real estate. We do a little bit of wholesale, but mostly retail. And what Jerry said is right. The way the bill's written is just ridiculous, and we've been lobbying against it. And there's a high probability it's not going to pass this year.
At least in its current form.
In its current form. And we're trying to negotiate with the lobbyists. A lot of us have gotten together, Greg and I and a couple others have gotten together to try to kick in, to raise funds to be able to fight this thing, because it's ridiculous the way it's written. Any transaction that you have that you are not going to personally live in, they're saying is going to fall into this, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
That is. I mean, first of all, I'd like to send a major shout out to Jerry for spearheading organizing wholesalers to actually combat some of these ridiculous laws and regulations coming our way.
Over here on the chat and for Jerry.
Yeah, but everybody needs to be paying close attention in their states. If regulations haven't been introduced in your state, it's just a matter of time. I know Jerry's been screaming this from the mountaintops for years, trying to organize and make sure that we hold a higher level of operations. That's what the Joe brand is all about. It's about operating and doing things the right way, teaching the right way to do things, so you don't fall into this big bucket of people who are considered stripping equity from sellers, and you do things in an honest way. And there's going to come a day where you probably should prepare as a wholesaler today that in your state you should be prepared. Get your private money together, your hard money together, to take down every property that you have interest in buying and plan to resell it, okay? To that extreme. Get your real estate license. I'm not telling you to do all those things. I'm saying peek around the corner on this. Jerry's been talking about it for a long time. Brent's been talking about it for a long time. We are ready, and it's unfortunate that the few bad apples, and maybe more than a few bad apples in our industry, have brought us to where we are today. But it's really important to be ready, because they don't know how to write laws that protect both the consumer and the service provider, unfortunately. So it's
you guys want to know what the next big thing is they're going after on the regulation is memorandums.
Yep, that's right.
Right now you've got bills in Texas, New York, Rhode Island, and Oklahoma that are all they have bills proposed. If they pass, they'll become law that would make memorandums illegal. So that's a target on your back. If you're a wholesaler right now and you're doing memorandums, I would stop doing that immediately.
So Jerry, let me ask you this. What if you give the seller some money up front? How would you protect yourself there so that they don't just bounce? Right? So they don't just take your money and they're just gone. You know what I mean?
I mean, I think there's some legit exceptions, but we'll see how these laws are written. I mean, Brent, the laws may not have any exclusions for things like that. Like, that's a legit reason. Hey, I'm going to release $5,000 in earnest money. Look, we have to cloud title because I'm giving you cash up front before we close. You can't go closing with somebody else or changing your mind now, right? Like, that makes sense. But what's happened here is you have people that lock up 10 contracts, put memorandums on, go dark, never talk to the seller again. Seller's ghosted. He goes to sell to someone else. Now there's a memorandum. That shady wholesaler is negotiating now a release of his memorandum for 5 or 10 grand. And they do that 10 times a month. I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing ever. And so now, because of that happening, what happens is that when the regulation comes in, it's not fair and balanced. It goes way far the other way. Like, that's government intervention, just like North Carolina. We're seeing that there. So it's like the few people that are doing that kind of thing are making it now to where maybe, Brent, we're not able to do it at all. And then you'll stop releasing money early because you have no protection. Or maybe another solution is you do a lien on the property and it's a loan. I mean, that's what I would probably end up doing, because we release money all the time. I mean, it's a huge benefit to a seller, helps them move and all these other things. But we're not doing that if we're not certain we're going to close. You know what I mean? So you're going to have to do something different if you can't do a memorandum.
If you buy it and then close on it in the morning using your own cash, Jerry, and then sell it in the afternoon, is that allowed?
Well, this is the gray area, guys, because here's the thing. How did you contract with your second buyer? And when did you contract with the buyer? Right? So think about it. Your BC contract with the new buyer, did you execute that contract before you legally own the property? If you did, which is how we double close, then that's equitable interest. And the equitable interest is what's up in the air right now. What they're saying, what a lot of these regulations are saying is, we don't want you making money on equitable interest. If you want to make money in real estate, buy the dang thing, take legal title, and then we don't care what you do with it. But if you're making money on your equitable interest, which is a BC contract and a double close, that's an ovation and that's an assignment, then you're falling under that umbrella of equitable interest. I'm monetizing my rights to my contract, but I don't own the property yet. And it doesn't, people think it's about when you close. It's not about when you close, it's about when you contract. Because that BC contract, how are you contracting to sell a property you don't yet own? How are you doing that? Well, you're saying, well, I have equitable interest because I have a contract to buy the property. Even though I don't own it yet, I have equitable interest in the property. Therefore, I can sign a BC contract with my cash buyer. But see, that's what they're coming for, equitable interest. So Mitch is right. Like, guys, if you want to be a sustainable long-term business, you're going to need to get a license. You're going to need to get private money. You're going to need to be able to buy things. You're going to have to put down earnest money. You're going to have to treat this like a real business, not this like, you know, I don't have a dime invested in anything. I'm going to take zero risk. I want to be a fly-by-night wholesaler where I make all this money, but I don't put anything into the business. That those days, I think, are coming to an end.
There's got to be two truths to this. You've got North Carolina putting this out. They know how it's currently written is poorly written. They have to. Like, there's no way they can look at that and say, oh my gosh, I am so excited about this to go into place. So the two truths are, they're trying to get some regulation in place. And I think there's a line that it's going to just clean up how it needs to clean up. But here is the opportunity for all of us as real estate investors. I think it opens it up to almost blue ocean again. Like, it'll go back to the feeling of 2015 when I got in and I didn't feel any kind of competition. I think this is going to and should weed out the bad apples. At the end of the day, the bad apples probably don't have the skill set, the mindset, or any kind of consistency to go raise capital, get a license. They're doing it fly by night. They're going to be gone. It's going to shift the presence of how we're looked upon. And at the end of the day, they solved what they're trying to solve, and that's get rid of the bad apples. I actually recommend we get rid of the bad apples. I think this is going to be a fantastic day for all of us. And those that now move forward and see that this is actually an opportunity, it's not a punishment, we're going to win, and we're going to win bigger.
Yeah, Cody, that was a piece I wanted to add. Being from North Carolina, it is doom and gloom there right now. And I'm actually seeing huge opportunity. The bill, obviously, we've covered that, needs to be written differently. But it was introduced because there are people that are bad actors. There are people taking advantage of sellers. Everyone at this table is doing things the right way. I think it creates huge opportunity for us. And I think that's the piece to continue to focus on.
What do you guys think about the installment method as a solution? Zachary Cook asks.
The installment method. I'm not even
I don't even know what that is.
I do.
Go ahead, Jerry. Explain it to everybody.
So installment method is just a land contract, contract for deed. It's called a lot of different things, but it's basically where the title's held in escrow until you cash out the contract, right? So it's a creative financing. It's a form of seller financing is what it is. And they're great. The problem with it is it's people think that that's a solution to replace wholesaling. Well, guys, think about this. I'm going to give a seller some money because why would they close with me if I don't give them some money? So what am I going to give them? $1,000. We're going to close on an installment method. Let's call it a contract for deed. We're going to close. I'm in with you on the property. We're sort of like partners now because they still retain the title until you pay them off at a future date, right? So now they're investing with you in essence. And we're talking about motivated sellers here, guys. We're talking about people that have urgency. They want cash. It's just not our client. I don't think it's a viable solution. It doesn't match up with a distressed, motivated seller. And then what are you going to do? You're going to keep them in the property while you show it to cash buyers. You're going to market the property to cash buyers. Then you're going to get a cash buyer. And then when we close, the seller moves out. Like just logistic. I know people are doing it. By the way, I'm not saying it's not a thing. People are doing this. It is a thing. I just don't think it's like a novation. A novation fits a very specific type of seller. It's not a solution for everybody. It's a very narrow bucket of people that fit a novation. But is it going to replace wholesaling? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I think that there's so much anger towards having to get a license. Right?
People get wound up.
Yeah. Why do you think it is?
I have an opinion on this, but Mark, I'd love to see where you're going to go.
Because it's been the Wild West and the barrier to entry has been nothing.
Yeah. So what's going to be the new Wild West, Jerry and Cody and everybody?
Here's a thought is think about, for example, we had the division of real estate at the very beginning when I got into this. They call me in. I go in and they're like, we got called in by a realtor saying you're doing this. I said, and he says, what's your process? I map out the whole process and say, here's how I'm doing it. Please let me know if I'm doing it wrong. I'll swap it out tomorrow. I'm not here to do anything wrong. And he says, no, I wish everyone was doing it your way. That's the correct way. 6 months later, I get a phone call from Division of Real Estate. Cody, you've been called on again by a real estate agent. And so we need you to come in. Now, that point, I went in again, and then a third time. This time we got an attorney to go with us because I'm like, this is getting so lame. Like, we're telling you, we haven't changed anything. You've already blessed our mess. Like, let's keep, like, what is going on? So he goes in, he said, and so I said, do I just go get a license? He's like, no. That's when you enter the lion's den, because once you become a license, then they have all right to say, show me everything that you've ever touched. I now have full access to it. And I can now look at every deal, scrutinize every deal. Where right now, they can't do anything with my deals until they find me guilty of acting as a realtor, which I am not acting as a realtor. So that's one of my problems is we already have this target on our back, even though they've blessed us 3 times that you guys are doing it correct. If I get a license, it's almost like, aha, we get to look at every one of your deals now.
Well, you got to think about why. So licensing is underneath the real estate commission. And the real estate commission's job is to make sure that buyers and sellers do not get harmed in transactions where they're misrepresented or unrepresented, right? So if they pass a law and say wholesaling is brokering, therefore you need a license, now what's happening is you're falling under the jurisdiction of the real estate commission, state by state, whatever state you're transacting in. And now they have oversight over us or you. So they can say, we don't want you to do it like that. We want you to do it like this. We want you to use these contracts, not those contracts. We want you. So now you're under their umbrella and they get to dictate what and how you do. And nobody likes that. Like, why? Who would want that? I mean, who would raise their hand and say, yeah, that sounds wonderful. I'd love the real estate commission to tell me what to do and how to do it. I mean, that's real estate agents. They have to follow exactly what the commission tells them to do or they get in trouble. So, but my point to this is this. If your state says wholesaling is brokering and you need a license, then you got 2 options. get your freaking license and follow all the rules, or buy the dang thing and do whatever you want.
Yeah. Love it, Jerry. Well said.
Both cleanse the market and the cream rises to the top. Those that are doing it the right way, those that are willing to execute, providing a meaningful service to the sellers. Because that's, again, part of it is the riffraff is causing this because sellers are getting taken advantage of. There really is, when it boils down to it, there really is benefit to regulation. And there is, it's warranted that there should be plans in place to take care of the sellers if there's going to be people taking advantage of sellers, right? And again, I'm just echoing what's been said. But now, when I made that declaration a moment ago that, you know, it's not going to pass in its current form, it's absolutely ridiculous because it's biased towards the sellers, which, you know, that's not going to fix the solution type thing. But there is going to be regulations, and you put the right lens on it, it's a positive thing. Very positive. And if it means that the sellers are better taken care of, I don't know that that's a bad thing. You just have to act like an actual investor, actual buyer, and not a fly by night, not knowing what you're doing, and not again, not being mindful of the seller. So there's a world in which this is a really positive thing. Do I want to become an agent? So I'll play that. So I'll clarify what I'm saying. Do I want to become an agent and have everything scrutinized? No. Am I going to avoid that at all costs? Yes. But am I going to make sure that I'm being mindful of the sellers and do it the right way? Obviously, that's our mission. That's our goal. And I think for a lot of people, that they're doing it that way too.
Yeah. Awesome. I think they should just go pick on like solar cells. I think there's a lot more damage going on homeowners when I get a contract.
Let's talk about that for a minute.
I mean, if we want to see a bad business, how many times you go on a contract and there is like a $90,000 lien on solar cells?
We went under contract on a property last week.
Oh, yeah.
And literally 2 days later, title comes back and they say, you know, there's a solar lien. We said, there's no solar panels on the house. How is there a solar lien? 80-year-old woman. Somebody showed up at the door 3 days before we did. And she said, well, I'm getting ready to sell the house. I said, well, that's okay. Just sign this piece of paper. We're still going to be able to take care of it. So she's now dealing with this $30,000 solar lien that we're trying to take care
of course.
Yeah, it's insane.
Of course.
Yeah.
It won't fix anything. It won't fix anything because here's my honest opinion. I think there are more shady real estate agents than ever there will be wholesalers. Honestly. That
shots fired. Shots fired.
I mean, they give bad advice, bad information, not helpful. Actually a detriment to the transaction, not a help to the. You know how many times that agents have screwed up my deals? The agents screwed up my deals,
and then can't help the person that they just screwed up.
Totally screwed up. Just get out of the way. Well, I just unlock the door. I need you to unlock the door. That's it. That's all I need you to do. And yet they're licensed, and so if somehow licensing is going to clean up the industry, it's not going to clean up anything because agents are proof of that. I think there are a lot of unethical agents, and they're all highly regulated with licenses. So what did that do for them?
Yeah, maybe that's where all the would have been potential wholesalers are going to go to is solar.
Is solar. They're going to be the next industry that needs that. I mean, if there's a regulation that needs to come out, it is 1,000% on solar. It's highway robbery. Go for it, Bill.
I think this bill is going to be hugely beneficial when it passes in a different form because, like you said, it's going to eliminate all of the bad actors. It's going to make things more legitimate.
Yep.
And when you do it the Joe way is a mutually beneficial transaction that works for everybody. And I'm already a realtor. So, I mean, legally, I can just do whatever I want to do anyway. But it's all about, in the end, it's about looking out for the person that you're partnering with and helping solve their solution. The biggest talking point about this bill needs to be how this is going to harm the sellers. And it is going to harm the sellers.
Yeah.
Because if we've got to wait 30 days before that earnest money goes hard, and they have the right to just take that earnest money and back out and keep that earnest money. They can do that with 5 or 10 people, right? So that creates an unethical element on the other side. And we need to point out to these legislators that we solve problems. I have people that need to close in 1 week, 2 weeks, and 3 weeks. I won't be able to do that now with this law. Yeah. And so I got somebody who's going to lose their house because I can't act fast anymore. And the legislators need to understand that they're really harming the people they're trying to protect.
And the state of North Carolina, like they're suffering now the income that comes from it. Like there's so many, I don't know.
We fix problems. I get thank you
That's
letters
it.
from my clients that if I'm having a bad day, all I get is pull those out and read them. And it reminds me that I'm doing a good thing.
Well, at the end of the day, I mean, it reminds us of why you and I both got in this industry.
Right.
It's maintaining the integrity of, we want to change lives
Yeah.
through investing in real estate. And that's absolutely our opportunity.
So Carlos talked to a Gator lender at some point, and they mentioned that it's a buyer's market now, and fix and flips are no good in today's market. What do you guys think?
Not even close. Our market is still a seller's market. Maybe other markets in different areas are buyer's markets. I don't know. But North Carolina, we're still rocking and rolling.
But I think part of the underlining thought is that you can't rehab a property, right? That it's not a good time to do a
flip.
Well, it's days on market is the worry, and
Yeah, but if you account for that in your upfront pro forma and you buy it at a deep enough discount, obviously you have to buy it right. I don't know. I'm not opposed to.
I think it's
rehab on the right property.
I think it's market specific, and I think it's definitely price point specific. I mean, we just listed a little flip we did. We bought it for 100. We put whatever 30 or 40 into it, and I have it listed at 275. I had 10 showings in the first 2 days. I've had 3 or 4 offers, 2 offers over list price. Why? Yeah. It's because I'm under 300,000 on a renovated house.
Very good point.
Under 300,000 is going to fly off the shelf anywhere, really. I mean,
so you're saying median price range or below?
Yes, that's
or luxury, right?
Or luxury.
Jerry?
Or luxury. We're not dealing with people that have to worry
What's
about a loan.
luxury? Double median, triple median, quadruple median, because it's different in every area.
Every area is
$2 million in the middle of Nebraska is different than $2 million in San Diego.
Right.
You know what I mean? So what do you think luxury is, Jerry? Have you ever put like a multiple to the median sale price to it?
No, because it's not something I do everywhere and all over the place. I mean, luxury is something you got to really get your head around. I think you want to, if you're going to go the luxury route, you need to have a 5-year, 10-year plan in that market to really do it well. Like what I mean by that is like, you're going to really dive into that local market and go for it. And so, but that's a great question, Brent. I don't know, but I would, off the top of my head, I would say 4 times median is probably would you be hitting luxury.
Yeah, I think so. That put Phoenix at 2 million. Maybe on the low end. But yeah, it's interesting. Switching tacks a little bit to something a little bit more positive and energetic and everything.
Can we say how we win in this business?
Well, give me the 5-step. Boom, fast.
5 steps of negotiation
of a deal for everybody, because we have a lot of people that are just getting started out here. We got a lot of people that they haven't had a lot of opportunity to negotiate. So give them a blueprint so that they can follow to really just, help them along in the first few, and then really be able to sharpen the skills.
Yeah, I'll just hammer through the 5 steps.
Look at them there.
They require a little bit of context, but at the end of the day, no context.
Just hit them.
You got to get
and then we'll let them ask questions.
All right, you got to get their number. Then you set in.
What do you mean number?
What their sell price of their property is.
Okay.
You got to get their number. That's step 1.
Okay.
Before you try to negotiate, you got to get their number.
What if they won't give it to you?
They'll give it to you, particularly when you're providing value and you're helping build a solution. It's all part of the solution that you're framing together. Again, you asked for no context, and now I'm trying not to give you context.
I'll pull it out. So if you're virtual and you're negotiating and they're saying, hey, you called me, or I went to your website, you buy houses, what are you going to buy this for?
As much as the home qualifies for. And at the end of the day, as much as the home qualifies for.
Did you guys hear that? Do you guys like that? Yes. Are you guys writing that down, Anton?
I would be writing that down.
It just depends on how much it qualifies for.
Most people say it really. Most people, well, I'll give you the highest offer. It's like, well, you're screwed.
Right.
Right. As much as the home qualifies for.
Okay. So what does it qualify for?
Well, that's our job, is to assess that together, to come up with a plan together. So our philosophy at Joe Homebuyer is JHB way, Joe Homebuyer, but right. Join. That's the effort of connecting with the seller, hear their needs, discover what it is that they're trying to accomplish.
What's their goal?
Right. And then the B is build a solution. And that solution is not what you think. So many times in sales, particularly the good sales, those that come from solar that try to get in this business, they just try to force feed the seller what they think they want. No. If you hear their need, you can build a solution around what is actually going to help them transition in their life.
Sure.
So that's the focus, JHP. So if that's what you're starting with, and they feel that
JHP is join
forces,
hear their needs, build a solution.
There you go. Can somebody write that in the chat, please?
Join, hear, build.
Join, hear, build. Yep.
And look, if you're invested in, if you're invested in that effort, you're always going to get their number. Because now it's not you're on opposing sides and there's a strong negotiation, strong arm tight setting. They're going to collaborate with you to come up with a solution. So it's almost, 99.9% of the time you're going to get their number.
And I love the word collaborative, Mark, because so many other wholesalers are just focused on the transaction. It's a transactional business. Sellers feel that. That's why we get the deals from the sellers that have 5 postcards, 5 offers that were texted to them. We're going in not asking or not focusing on price, just focusing on that relationship and how do we create this connection to build this bridge together.
Well, you got to live a higher law. The golden rule is treat others like you want to be treated. We're not, that sounds fantastic. That sounds like, oh my gosh, you couldn't win. You could never lose if you just treat others like you want to be treated. And you lose all day long if that's how you're going to go do this deal. You got to live, I would call maybe a platinum rule, right? And that's just a level up. And that is treat others as they want to be treated. Because what you think is the solution, they could care less about it. And I think we're so coined to watch a YouTube video and we just go in and spit the same benefit every time. I can close fast. I can close in less than 7 days. I can buy it as is. I'll provide a dumpster. Oh, and you can stay in the house for 2 weeks. Well, what if they don't need a dumpster? What if they don't need 7 days in the property afterwards? What if they don't need this? It's like, it just doesn't matter, right? We have to figure out, and I love the JHB because we literally need to listen to understand. We need to hear them, right? Hear their needs. Listen to understand versus listening to respond. And most salespeople are listening and saying, oh yeah, well, you got the right person. We'll close fast. And we're not. We're listening to everything so that we can just hear their needs. And then at the end of the day, it's the home that's the problem. If the seller is right here, I'm sitting next to him and we're looking at this problem together. They're not the problem. I'm not the problem. This is the problem. And we're going to create a solution together. We're going to come up with something that helps them move on to plan B.
Yeah, people do business with people that they know, like, and trust.
Yep.
And if we don't build that process, then we're not really helping them the right way.
Yeah.
So many of us visit a home and it's like Greg said, we're worried about the house. And we're worried about, the price. We had a franchisee go to a home, true story, and gets a contract, works with the seller, and is driving away, talks to me about it. And I'm like, great. Did you get videos and pictures of the property and everything? And he's like, no. And I'm like, wait a minute. You didn't even go tour the house after? He goes, no. We just built a connection. We solved a few problems. We put an agreement together and off I was. Like, it just illustrates the point that, like, they made a human-to-human connection. They solved a problem, and they put an agreement together. Oh, yeah, the house was kind of the byproduct of that. So that's what it means to join here, build. So the 5 steps, if you want me to hammer through
Let's go. I love how you brought us back. Let's go. Buddy. Don't let him detour you. He said you just go without any kind of anything. I got him.
You got it. Yeah. Okay, so get their number. Then you're going to set an anchor. And by the way, Chris Voss of Never Split the Difference, he illustrates this so well. But an anchor solicits a no and is unrealistic. Then it's the question.
So give us one.
Well, an anchor is an idea rather than a specific number or an offer. If it sounds like an offer, then they're going to kick you out of their house type thing. An anchor is, because they fly a kite by giving you their number. They propose something that's not realistic, that they're, that they're just kind of posturing with. And it's just natural. Your defense of your number, of your equity, and they should. The seller's obligated to get as much for the home as they can. And so you just reframe or stretch it by the frame of the negotiation by simply dropping a number that solicits a no. So it might be or a range, an idea. So it might sound something like, I suspect if you had other offers, you're going to have people coming in the low 100s or the mid 100s. Again, I'm not giving you any context from, maybe what it's worth or anything, but if you notice the language that I chose, it wasn't a number and it wasn't a range. It was an idea. It was, and the idea is not to get a yes to that answer. They flew a kite with their number. You're now going to set an anchor just on the opposing end so that you have some room to work. That will create the space to have a meaningful negotiation. And then it's a simple just follow-up of a series of questions. When they say no to that, it's, well, how close can you get? That's step 3.
Say that again. Guys, you need to write this down. You need this one is something that my guys use. Ryan and Joshua and Chad use, I don't know, 3 times a day, a dozen times a day.
Yep.
Like literally, it is like
every single conversation.
Every conversation, Jerry. Every single conversation has this question.
How close can you get?
How close can you get? How close can you get?
The beauty behind that is
they're here at 350,000. You throw out, I bet you're getting offers around 100,000.
Yeah.
And they go, no, I can't do that. I would never do that. And you go,
how close can you get?
Boom.
It's not more complicated.
What's the beauty behind that, Mark? That you're setting them up. They then negotiate against themselves. So now they were at 350, you're at 100, or the idea is around 100. How close you can get? They're like, well, we could probably, I don't know, maybe 250. Now, guys, all of this is hypothetical. Me and Jerry did a video, and I think it got like more views than anything because they hated what we and you just said right there. Remember this, Jerry? We went like,
yeah, it went viral. Yeah,
over this same exact criteria that we're just saying. So yes, it's they're negotiating against themselves.
I would say it a little different way. The seller is going to attribute a price based off the value that you're providing. What they're going to do is fly a kite on their price. I'm going to set an anchor. I'm now going to solicit the price or the value that they associate with the offering or the solution that I'm providing them. So, you could say they're negotiating against themselves. I think what it does is it ultimately puts them in a position where they get to decide what price they sell their home for based off the value that you're providing. The more value you provide, the lower price they'll accept for their home because that, solves and provides a solution for them.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it can't be a solution that is pre-boxed and fixed in your mind of I'm going to go in and I'm going to offer this, this, and this. No, you missed the point. You've got to actually identify for what they need to transition, what is actually meaningful and powerful to them, and then they'll attribute a price to the offering that you're providing. So when you ask that question, all you're doing is soliciting, all right, how much progress have I made? Have we identified what the seller needs? And if you get real good at identifying what the seller needs, naturally the price is going to come in your direction. Not always, but again, it's the seller that gets to decide that. And you give them back the power.
And two important pieces here. One, you've established enough relationship to be able to do that. So there's probably people on here thinking, I'm going to go in and I'm going to say 100 when they were expecting 300. I'm going to get kicked out of the house. Right? But two things, you're framing it in a way that it's a conversation, it's an idea, it's hypothetical, and you've established a relationship. This was something that was new to me as a newer wholesaler. You establish enough relationship, you can say anything to the seller. You can get away with anything, right? Because you are a friend in there, as Cody mentioned, side by side with them, attacking the problem together.
That's right.
Yeah, if you have somebody offended at your anchor, you didn't establish trust prior, right? Because I put a low anchor in that's hundreds of thousands of dollars off of their kite number that Mark said, and no one's ever mad at me. They're not offended. Now they'll say there's no way I can pay that low, but they're not offended or mad or kicking me out of the house because I did such a good job of creating a connection, trust, authority. And that doesn't have to take a long time. It's just, that's important to create before you do your anchor. So guys, if you're running into that, you're not building that relationship, right? You have to create that relationship first.
How do you know when the relationship is strong enough to be able to go that,
Well, my favorite is when an acquisition manager, so we've had, a dozen acquisition managers over the years, maybe more, just in our own operations. And my favorite is when an acquisition manager comes in. I'm not answering your question. I'm just stirring the pot, just soliciting some thoughts here. But they come in and they're like, oh, they're not going to go with somebody else. I have a rock solid relationship with them. Well, guess what? Every seller likes more than you. More money. Right? Better price. They're going to sell. So when do you know? So I don't know I guess I want to have some dialogue now to Brent's question. When do you know you have, or that you're at the stage in the relationship? I would tell you that Chris Voss framework of mirroring and labeling, when somebody starts to open up and you discover the black swans, when you start to understand the critical details that change everything in the negotiation, that's when the seller says, I can place this information available to Mark or Cody or Greg or Bill or whoever, because I know that it's going to be safe with them because they're going to help me navigate the situation. When they're starting to open up about the granular details, they're asking you to help come up with a solution.
That was going to be my answer, Mark, said a little bit differently, but you've created trust when you've gotten to the bottom of the problem, when you've identified what the pain is and you've sympathized and empathized with that seller and you understand and they feel understood. For me, I just keep asking questions until I understand what's really going on here. What are your goals? What are your plans? What are you trying to accomplish here? Help me understand where you're coming from. And when they feel that from me, it's go. It's time now. I've created enough trust because they feel heard and understood. It's when they don't feel understood because they're telling you answers to things and you're thinking about your next question and they can just feel that you're not really there for them. And that's a lot of that is it's an energy. Like, are you really there? And are you really looking for a solution? I got a deal right now, Brent, where, you know, he started out in the 5. That was his kite in the sky number. I anchored in the low 3s. He came down to 425. I went up to 350. 350 is my ceiling, so I stayed put. He came down. I just got a text and he said, what are the next steps? I'm thinking about going with your 350 number. Now, he told me in one of the conversations that he's gotten other offers. And he told me the other offers were higher than 350. And he sat and they met with an agent who's telling him that the agent can get him 4.25. So even after commissions, so I said to him, I said, well, you should go with that. Like that's going to get you the most money if you got time. No, I don't really want to wait for time. Okay, well, let's brainstorm solutions. Well, 350, that's too low. I got an offer from a local flipper for more than that. Why don't you go with him? Like I'm just, you know, I'll talk it out with you about what's the best thing to do. And if there's a better solution than me that meets your needs, then I think you should do that. And guys, you know how many deals I get because I'm just honest with sellers? Like, what would you want? Yeah. What would you want somebody to tell you? The truth or tell you, oh, don't go with that guy, go with me? Because why? I mean, it doesn't make sense. So do what makes sense to the seller and you'll get more deals than you can imagine.
Love that.
Guys,
love that.
That is a mic drop right there.
Yeah.
What you just said, Jerry, that is powerful.
Yeah, I mean, we use that regularly. That's my favorite thing as well, Jerry, too, is someone says, oh, well, the neighbor said they were going to offer me 280 and the ARV is like 260 and the house is in a wreck. And every single time I'm like, you should take that. Like, what am I even doing here? Why have you done that yet? And there's always some reason. There's always some excuse. And you can kind of dig into that to continue to build that relationship and not necessarily, but kind of poke holes in what that offer from the neighbor might be, which in the end just helps show that you are the expert in the field and you actually can close, which is what's most important at the end of the day.
Yep.
Well, and I used to be an acquisition manager competing against Mark and Cody before I became their acquisition manager. And I was always told this is the price that we can pay. And so I would go into these appointments, build great rapport, and just offer just the price as opposed to negotiating and trying to figure and going the anchoring process. And I would lose out on deals to them because not because they offered a better price or a higher price, but because they focused on the value they were going to provide. And we did the same things. Like I said, like what Cody said, we'll close in 3 days. We'll give you cash up front. All these things that weren't necessarily important to them is that it was other things they needed. And so, and we actually got to a point where we had a deal. Man, this was a great deal. We were under contract to buy this house, and my boss at the time didn't want it because he was a flipper. He was buying it to flip it. And so, you know what I did? I got on the phone with Mark and Cody, and they sent their acquisition manager out there and bought the lady needed money to pay for her electric bill, get groceries. And so, and then they wrote us a $5,000 check and they ended up assigning it and making like 20 grand. So it was just it was a very good value add to where we felt comfortable calling them because they're going to focus on their needs, and our company just didn't want to buy it based on certain circumstances with the condition of the home.
By the way, what's your guys' names and territories? Like, where do you guys wholesale out of?
Yeah, my name is Mike Gorius. I'm out of Louisville, Kentucky.
Yeah, Devin Hager. I'm out of West Palm Beach, Florida, but basically all of South Florida. So,
how long have you guys been part of the franchise?
Since late 23.
So I was Mark and Cody's general manager in Texas for 2 years, and now I've owned a franchise for 4. So I've been involved with Joe Homebuyer for almost 6 years at this point.
Cow.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, this is really cool because we're kind of all scattered throughout the country: Utah, Phoenix, Louisville, Florida, North Carolina, and Oklahoma, all of that, right?
Well, and cool story. So I actually partnered with Brent on a deal a few years ago. Yeah. We had this lady
smoking deal.
All she wanted, she's like, you're not wholesaling this deal. You're not wholesaling this deal, and I need you to close in 2 weeks. So you know what? I partnered with a guy, Brent Daniels, who had the cash, could close quickly, and we killed it. Like we made great money on it. It was a great opportunity, and we did exactly what the seller wanted, and we just closed on it and put it on the market as is and sold it. So it was great. Yeah,
that property was rough.
Oh, and yeah, that was so wild. That place sucked.
Oh my
so, but it was in a great area.
Great area, right by the water. Yeah. You have a question? Oh, okay. You're just raising your hand. Okay, got it. Okay. Step 4, are we good?
Dude, I'm impressed that you pick right back up. Hey, this is a good opportunity to say, go to thejoeway.com and they'll have access to everything. Because we're going to hit it right now, but we're going to hit it. You're going to have access to it later in case you're forgetting.
Yeah.
Thejoeway.com. Hope it's okay. I didn't even ask if I can share that, but the Joe. And what you're going to find is you're going to be able to download the framework for this best practices for negotiation, and you're going to have a training video. Step 4 is part of the collaboration process of negotiation. You're going to give a vague increase, and it's framed in the form of an if. So what's happened in the negotiation is you've set an anchor, you've asked how close they can get, they come down, they oftentimes are working with you on price. They need to see that you're going to reciprocate. So you're going to come back with a, if I can do this, and you close the gaps by coming up with a vague, small adjustment up, and it starts with a if. And it's key. Again, these little subtleties, this is something when you're a franchise, we do 4 days of, training on site at our office in Salt Lake. So we're trying to do this in 15 minutes. But at the end of the day, it's an if question that will show the seller that, hey, you came down, thank you, I'm coming up, we're working together, we're going to find a solution. So that's step 4.
Well, the language you're using is, I'm not desperate to buy your property. You're going into these situations, say, look, we're looking at a lot of properties. We got money we want to allocate. So you're one of many options for us. And so the problem is, even people that are pretty naive to selling their homes, they can smell desperation. They can smell when, oh, this guy really needs my business. And so it puts them in the driver's seat instead of yourself. So when you use that language, if we can do this, if we could provide this value, then it puts them in the position, man, I need to work with these guys because they're going to provide solutions for me. And it's on an if basis and not like, oh, we're going to do these things for you before they even offer that they needed that solution. So
great point. I mean, Devin, it's that on top of the ability to have like the confidence and just knowing that even if you've done one deal or even just by listening to this podcast, you know that you probably are more of an expert than most sellers that you talk to as well. Like the whole, if we can do this, we use that on a lot of deals for non-monetary items that could mean the absolute world to a seller. And we're happy to provide that, but it doesn't cost that much to us. I'm thinking about the one, Brent, that you and I just talked about recently, where there was a lady that didn't have any working bathrooms in her home, and she wanted 2 months for post-occupancy, and she needed help moving and everything in that sense. And there was no issue for us to help with that. In total, it cost us like an extra $1,000. Was saying, hey, would it be helpful to you? Would this price work for you if we were able to fix one of your showers so you could actually have a working bathroom and stop showering at the Y for the next 2 months until you close? Wow. And would it be helpful to you if we actually hired movers for you for all these important items? And those were each $500, and it just meant the world to her.
Well, you want to know how many deals have all come back to us because they chose to go with price as opposed to value. So they sign a contract with another investor just based on price, and that guy falls through, and then they call us back saying, hey, I know you weren't the highest offer, but you were going to do all these other things for me that I did need that this other person didn't do. And we end up closing on those because we know how to close the deals and we know how to provide the value they need. So. Yeah.
When do you guys flip versus wholesale?
So we had to learn the hard way on this a couple times. Probably just right after you guys, you just yelled at me enough. We decided to make a change.
Everybody laughs and knows what he meant by that. Everybody laughs.
But essentially what we've done this year is just made the mindset shift to say, we are not going to flip a house unless we're going to make like $40,000, $50,000. Nothing's guaranteed, obviously, sure. But we changed it from last year. We were saying, yeah, we'll flip houses and we're going to make 20, and we walk away with 8. And so now we're doing it with 40, 50. And even then we still send out every single deal, no matter what, every single time, because if we think we're going to make 50 and someone else wants to offer us a wholesale deal for 30, we'll take that all day long. Love it.
Oof.
Yeah.
Right. Well, for me, getting 100%, getting 100% on the purchase price from a lender, and they will also cover the rehabs. And yeah, can I at least double or if not triple my profit? And I think at a minimum, you better be able to double your money or else it's not worth it. Take the wholesale fee. We're in a market that we don't know what's going to happen. So that $20,000 profit can turn into negative 20 pretty quickly.
Yeah. So, and double has a definition, right?
Yes,
like
correct.
a 10K assignment and make a $20,000 rehab. I'm taking the 10K assignment. Double doesn't make sense.
Double
right?
to me is 25K assignment, 50K flip. That's the numbers that need to work for me personally. Everybody's different, but yeah, Mike just said it. They're not going for the 20K. They're going like, hey, can we make 25 in the assignment, then double, make 40 to 50. So.
And then you have to weigh out the risks. Like, can I afford to have this as a distraction? Can I, if you just mentioned it didn't tie up capital because you're using 100% financing, but if this doesn't sell for the price, can I afford not to have the minimum of the $25,000 assignment? And do I have enough runway with my operation capital to keep on going without getting the assignment? I guess I said that twice, but I think you see what I mean. At the end of the day, those things also have to be true, not just double your money. You have to make sure you're in a position. And well, by the way, if the flip is a distraction to you, and now you're not able to stay focused on new leads and new opportunities because you're somehow managing crews and things like that, then you'd have to do more than double to even consider something like that, because the minute you turn off the faucet to new opportunities and leads, so often people take on projects and they can't manage the pipeline of new opportunities, or they have to turn off marketing. That's not good. I had a franchisee that's no longer a franchise anymore. We went out to his operation to provide support, and one of them was mowing the lawn. They were a partnership. One of them was mowing the lawn. The other one was installing the thermostat.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, what are you guys doing? And they're like, well, we can. And it's like, yeah, but right now you're not talking to sellers. You're putting a thermostat and mowing the lawn. And they thought that was the way to, anyway, and they chose to do that flip. And it was a distraction, not a blessing to their company.
Well, I had a flip, even though I had 100% financing on it. It still took 6 months to sell, and I made a very small profit. I made probably a third of what I thought I was going to make, where I could have been smarter about the deal I was buying and used that private capital for a different deal where the win would have been much more guaranteed. So even though you have 100% financing, sometimes you're able to negotiate that. You better make sure it's a really good deal, or just wholesale it. So
yes,
the goal is just to be a hard money lender one day.
Hey, Jerry, why do you love single family rental houses so much?
I don't. Who told you that?
Can you expand on that a little bit?
Well, it's in the same vein here, which is, as a real estate investor, everything's developmental, and you crawl before you walk, and you walk before you run. And so there's just a right time to do things. And in the beginning, where you're building the business, active income, that short-term money, 30-day money, that's the most important thing for you to build a business and build wealth and build a life, is you got to create that fast cash. So when you tie up bandwidth with a rental property or a fix and flip too early, and you don't have the appropriate resources and the bandwidth to manage that, then you're going to get all screwed up. I can't tell you how many people I know that have 10 rentals and they've hit a ceiling. They can't qualify for any more, right? Maybe they can find a trade of finance somewhere. They're not making any money because the rental property's chewing up any cash flow that thing makes, and they're stuck, right? Whereas the same resources could go into a wholesale operation and you're making $100,000 a month and you're building something now. Do you want to stay that way forever? Maybe not, and you could start doing some other things when it's appropriate. So I just think there's timing, and even still, Brent, like to this day, I'm just not a super big fan of buy and hold. It just doesn't fit me, like flipping and wholesaling and some other things, development. And I do other things for passive income. I have software and other things. So I'm not saying that it's a bad move necessarily. It's just not my favorite. And I think a lot of people have very unrealistic ideals about what rental properties are and do. Honestly, I don't think you should even be thinking about it unless you have a tax liability, because that's the real benefit. And so until then, don't take that rental property on. It's funny because one of my Joe partners, they come to me often and they say, hey, let's keep this one. Let's not wholesale it. I'm like, okay, why? And they're like, well, we can make $500 a month in cash flow. And I say to them, do you know how many of those we'd have to own to make the same revenue we make wholesaling? We'd have to own 1,000 of those. Why in the world would we do this? We can wholesale it for 20 grand. Why? We can never match that. And for what? Why? I keep asking why? And you know what they get down to? Well, because I'm told that that's what you're supposed to do if you're going to build wealth. Well, I don't know who told you that.
Then move to Puerto Rico.
Think of this, Jerry. What you're saying is right, because just do the simple math. I think I support exactly what you say. Mark, you're probably in the line.
I'm in the middle somewhere.
Right in the middle somewhere. So here's the one I say, like, let's say cash flow $500. You hear this all the time from people like, oh man, it's a great rental, take it. Okay, do 500 times 12, that's $6,000 in a year. A lease is usually a 12-month contract. I can promise you many tenants do more than $6,000 in damage in 12 months in your home. And so what they think is cash flow is never cash flow. The reason you buy rentals is for tax depreciation, A. B is appreciation. But if you're doing that in the Midwest, or I have a few homes in North Carolina that it's like they're a $60,000 purchase, and if they go up 3%, okay, well, that's not appreciation. And so really it's just tax depreciation that I'm buying for. In Utah, amazing. They went up like 28% on I mean, we were buying rentals at 150 to 200 that are now worth 5, 6, 7, 800,000. Amazing. That's great. Cash flow. I don't know even if in our Utah rentals that we have a ton of cash flow. I mean, because it's always something's got to get fixed. Something's going to go out. A roof's going to go out. HVAC's going to go out. Something's going to happen where if you really have a great bookkeeper and they're really tracking your numbers, your P&L and your balance sheet, you'll see cash flow does not exist.
Cody, here's how you prove it. There is an entire seller class, distressed seller class, called tired landlords. So much so, there are thousands of them in every single market, and we target them. Like, we market to a tired landlord. What the hell is a tired landlord? It's somebody that owns 5 to 10 rental properties, and they're completely burned out. Robert Kiyosaki with the Purple Bible lied to them. It's not what they thought it was, and now they're motivated sellers because they're sick and tired of these rentals. An entire seller class called tired landlords.
Yeah, it's pre-foreclosures, right? It's probates, it's tax default, and tired landlords. You know what I mean? It is. I mean, I would say 50% of our deals are from tired landlords.
They're the great deals. They're the ones that say, I'm fed up. This guy smoked meth in my house.
Okay, yeah. So, but Jerry, for the people that are not Jerry Norton or Cody Hoffheim, you have to tell us, has there been assets that you've accumulated early days, you've been in this 20 years, were there properties that you bought and held for a period of time? I don't care if it was a year or 4 years, that you got some appreciation, tax advantages, maybe never cash flow, because I'm not suggesting, by the way, I'm not at odds with what you're saying there, but I will tell you that a lot of the things I'm able to do today is because I did buy. Now, I've been in a fortunate market. I've been in Salt Lake, and a lot of the assets we've accumulated have been in Utah.
3 times, 4 times from what we bought them. 100%.
So they've done fantastic for us. So you have to weigh that in the equation. I'm just a little bit resistant to tell somebody observing this, never buy a rental. If you think you're buying it for cash flow and that you're not going to have repairs and that it's going to be this grandiose, you're wrong. And if you buy junk and you expect it to somehow, be a great thing long-term, no, it's going to get worse. It's going to get junky tenants and it's not going to produce cash flow. That's all true.
I had 4 drug deals happen during 4 inspections. I was trying to sell a duplex I had in North Carolina. And every time it went back out of contract during inspection, because when they would go to the house, there would literally be a drug deal happening in the moment on the same, like on 4 days of inspections from 4 different buyers. And they're like, oh, we can't do this. There was a massive drug deal and a drug bust that happened on your lawn. I'm like, geez, why did I buy it?
Here's how I would answer that, Mark. Here's how I'd answer that. Year 1 or phase 1, because it might not be a year, but year 1, phase 1, 100% active income. Don't hold anything. Just build the system, get the processes, get it dialed in. That may take longer than a year, but phase 1 is that. Phase 2, go 80-20, and then when you go, so maybe not 80-20 even, 90-10. So I'm going to wholesale 90%. I'm going to take on a fix and flip. And I'm going to start doing a little bit of a 6-month time frame on my money. I'm going to tie up some resources, but the mothership that's bringing in all the money, paying the bills, providing the lifestyle, give it all the things, that's my active income wholesale business. I never lose sight of the mother goose that lays the golden eggs. Year 3, maybe now we do 10% flips, 10% we're going to keep. So 1 out of 10 is a home run. Let's keep that one. Let's slowly start building a portfolio. But the minute I take my eye off the ball on my active income, the whole ship goes down. Or it's in jeopardy of going down. And that's where you can get screwed up, is you're either on the wrong boat because you're doing rentals before you have active income. How many people do you know? I mean, I talk to these people every single day in my education. They have no active income and they're trying to build a portfolio. It's just not going to work. You're never going to, it's never going to work. You got to, if you think about, here's what I look at. If you look at the statistics that say 80% of millionaires are in real estate, well, that's very misleading because the majority of those millionaires in real estate, they built businesses, created active income, a lot of it that created a tax liability. Then they bought the real estate to offset the taxes with the cash they created from their business. That's how they did it. So what are we doing? We're going to do something different? Like that's what they did to build massive wealth. They had businesses creating cash reinvested into real estate providing tax benefit, eventually cash flow, and that's how they're winning the game. We can do the same thing, but with a wholesale business.
So we got 10 minutes left in the show. I want to do a little round table here. You have zero budget, have to lock up a solid, closable deal in the next 7 days.
Ooh.
Mark, what do you do? How do you find it?
I love how you started with me.
I'll start. What I would do in the next 7 days in this market, I would find all the ugliest houses that are already under contract on the MLS.
Ooh.
I would put a backup offer on those properties, and I would bug the hell out of those agents to tell me if anything's going goofy with those deals. Boom. Now, I have to have earnest money. That's important. I have to have proof of funds. That's important. And I have to work with a realtor approved contract. Those are the three little details that are different than if you just go direct to seller. Jerry,
mine's similar.
Jerry,
I got one.
Oh,
I'll go, Jerry, and I'll go.
I want to hear Cody's because then I might steal it if it's good.
Mine's very similar. I would actually get on.
Is he just saying my idea was not good?
Jerry, that's one way. That's one. I just
one way to do it.
I would say this. I would actually get on every wholesaler's list.
Okay.
And there are many wholesalers that are putting homes under contract at the wrong price.
Okay.
And they're always going to send out their deal and they're going to say needs to close by X date. And there's your X dates. It was the same thing in insurance. We always got people's current insurance premiums and we found out their X date, when it was going to expire to get a new policy. We'd call them a month before, give them a quote so that they would switch and it'd be natural because that was when their policy was going to end anyways. It's the same thing with this. I'd get the X date. I'd find out when they need to close by. When they say, oh, it's closing on, it's now June 20th, or we need to do it in 7 days. It's closing on June 7th. I'd call every wholesaler and say, what deals you have? If it doesn't close on June 7th, I'm not saying ever go around the current contract. That is shady business. Don't do that. But then afterwards, I check with the buyer. Hey, or the seller. Hey, did this close? It didn't. Do you mind if I come take a look at it?
I did the TTP method, Brent Daniels. When I started my market, I did it virtual. I live in Utah, started my market in Florida. I virtually drove for dollars. I looked at crappy houses on aerial view on Google, got on the phone, called 5 hours a day. My third day in, I got a deal and I got found a tired landlord. She had 3 properties, tied up all 3 properties and sold all 3 of them in the first 3 days of my operation. So
what'd you make?
I made,
yeah, you go for it, bro.
I made $26,000 between all 3 of those deals.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Awesome. Jerry?
Do I have any marketing budget? Did you say I forgot? I didn't hear.
Zero.
You got 0, bro. You're in the hole. You owe your credit card like $12K.
Hey, bro, you cannot be the Godfather OG moment right here and talk about agent deal domination. It's got to be
not 7 days. No, not no. I think what I would probably do is I would do a highly stacked list. Like you can go on PropWire, and here's I call it my gold list. But write this down, everybody. I go absentee owner, out of state. Okay. I go high equity. I go vacant. And I go, what's my 5th one? What did I say? Absentee, out of state. Oh, no, we have a field that we call tired landlord, but it just means that they've owned it for 10 years or more.
Okay.
So it's just another stack on it. Now, you're going to start out, if you take a metro market and you go just absentee, like filter 1, and there's going to be 300,000 or whatever. It's going to be a bazillion of them. But as you add all those stacked onto the list, all those filters onto the list, it's going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. And then you're going to have a list of like anywhere from 50 to 100. But you've got a really amazing list now. And then it's going to cost me $5 or whatever. I would skip trace that list and call that list And that to me, that's a magic list. We usually get deals out of that list. Now, again, it's a very small list, so you don't even need to outsource cold calling or anything. Every single person here can call 50 phone numbers, right, and talk to somebody.
Love that.
I've heard people have success door knocking those too.
Oh, yeah.
So, hitting the pre-foreclosures and then knocking those lists around you. So.
Yeah, so I would do something, I guess, similar. I know both of you trained me, so you guys actually took my answers, or maybe I took yours as well. But how I got my first 4 deals was expired listings at the end of the day. And so it was, living in Phoenix, calling folks in Louisville, actually searching for people that had more than one house at the end of the day, built a relationship, and just one by one, I found this one lady and wholesaled all 4 of her houses. She was from Louisville, moved to South Carolina, couldn't get it done. And so I was like, I can get it done for you. And we got it done.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Legit.
All right. So this one works. This is the best one.
This one works. This one's it, Jerry. This is the golden goose.
Hold on. It's going to sound underwhelming, but I'm telling you.
Bro, if you have to hold a gun to someone, do not share this.
No, hold on. I'm telling you.
You're going to rob a party store, Cody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Give me your
It's going to sound underwhelming. It's available at a court repository or county. Probate with a personal call, human-to-human connection. The reason probate is so valuable is this is an inherited. Somebody just filed for an executorship to inherit property. Not always, but oftentimes that's what the probate purpose is for, is that executorship of the estate. It comes with real estate. You call that person and you have a human-to-human connection. They have a property to sell. They're the best. It trumps the tired landlord jargon and all this other things. I'm telling you, if I had to find a deal in 7 days with no marketing dollars, it's court repository, probate, and having a human-human connection with somebody that needs it. They now have a property they inherited.
Well, Mark, those are some of the toughest conversations. So how do you start that? Someone just lost a family member. How do you start that conversation out when you cold call?
Ooh, wait, hold on. I'm going to challenge this. Can you close out probate in 7 days?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Nice try, Mark.
Wow!
Hey, I've done this many times.
A little bit of details,
you can get a contract, even though that, dependent upon the state, that contract is not valid until the probate process is complete. But if you build a good enough rapport, then they're committed to you and they're going to sell you the property. And as soon as probate is complete,
after 7 days,
it counts.
There was nothing about funded in 7 days.
Whoa, Brent.
Lock up.
Yeah, lock up the deal. Not close in 7 days, bro.
Oh, Jerry.
Wait,
Jerry.
I thought we had to close in 7 days.
Yes, so did I, Jerry. I'm with you, bro.
You have to lock up a closable deal. That's the thing. You can't just.
I'm gonna come pet your possum, Jerry. I'm done with this.
Anybody can lock up a deal for
a closable deal.
But Brent, if I had money and a good process, couldn't I just give you money and you give me some friggin' hot PPC leads and we're done?
All day long. Are you getting the PPC leads?
Yeah, I'm meeting with your team next week to get started. So,
you?
Yeah, we've done really well with your leads.
Mike?
Really well.
I got a meeting Wednesday.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah. Frickin' Jerry.
Really good, Brent, to find out more about your PPC.
Talktopeople.com. Talktopeople.com, guys. Check that out if you're ready for the absolute fastest and most profitable leads of all time. It's at talktopeople.com. It's not even close, guys. We have freaking so many unbelievable talent here finding great leads online. So
they really
check it out.
We attest.
People. Awesome.
We've done very, very
Jerry,
well.
what are you up to this week?
Oh, what am I up to this week? Same old thing, just working the business. I don't have anything special really going on. But next week, Mark and Cody are coming out to see me at the farm. That'll be fun.
The farm, baby. We're not digging ditches, bro. Just so you know, we're not for hire. We are having an event, right?
Rain pipe.
I got some chicken coops that need mucked, Cody.
What about do you have a pig? Can we reenact when you had your kids slap a pig on the face?
Oh, yes.
You guys see this video. It's amazing. Inside joke.
That'll be for next week's episode, episode 274 of Wholesale Hotline. No, awesome, Jerry. So you got some good videos coming out. Are you going live at all this week?
Yeah, actually going live on Thursday. So I'll put a link out probably tomorrow for that if you guys are calling sellers. So we're doing that live Thursday.
Awesome, guys. Make sure that you put that in your calendar. Go to Jerry Norton's Flipping Mastery YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed, make sure that you subscribe. Check out my YouTube channel of Brent Daniels. also Jamil Damji, and of course, Pace Morby. Go check out all 4 of those channels. And if you're interested in just all of our content smooshed together and edited perfectly, go to Wholesale Hotline on your favorite podcast platforms. It's there 7 days a week. Thank you guys for joining us for Wholesale Hotline number 273. Thanks, Jerry. Love you, buddy.
See ya.
See you guys.
See you, brother.
Or just say squat up.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
1, 2, 3.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
What are you doing? I didn't say nothing.
Why?
I don't know.
Okay.
So squat up and enjoy the show.
Cool. I think we should use the one where Jamil doesn't say anything.